Hey guys, welcome back to the Respect the Drive podcast. Today we're here with Eddie Siegel, my good friend, my roommate, the love of my life, really.
Oh my God, thank you. Yeah, we're bromance. Yeah,
Yes,
it's real.
It's real. So I actually haven't seen you for about a week. What have you been up to?
What have I been up to? Work, lots of work, and staying out of the sun because it's been 90 degrees for the past week.
Yeah, it's actually really hot in here, and for the sake of audio, we don't have any fans running, so you're welcome.
Yeah, I know. I can feel it.
Now, just a quick plug, you guys can follow this on SoundCloud. I will upload this on SoundCloud as well. So if you're listening at work or you're watching this at work and you're like, I can't have this window open the whole time, I need to listen to this as a normal podcast, it will be on SoundCloud. So that's kind of how I'm doing it. But yeah, this last week has been very interesting for me.
Yeah, you don't say.
We've done a lot. So what you don't see kind of going on all the time with the Tedward videos is it might be a little sparse on Tedward, but you might notice that Winding Road has had a ton of track videos uploaded. That was from my MAMA experience, the Midwest Automotive Media Association. I like that MAMA is the acronym for that. But we drove a bunch of cars, been uploading there. But in addition to that, I have such a huge backlog of videos.
Oh, I know. You have a catalog now.
I just uploaded the Police Interceptor video. I'm so thrilled with how it came out. I went into that video anticipating the shoot. I went in there with just the sole idea of POV. I was going to go in, there's 3 new vehicles. I was going to go do 3 POVs, put them on Winding Road, done deal, everything's great. And then I get there, they give me a vehicle. They're like, hey, this is great. This is what we're going to do. Put the hat on. Ford's totally cool with it. Roll up to the autocross, and the guy who's like running the autocross looks at it and he goes, oh, absolutely not. Because I got a camera over my face. And he's like, no. So on a dime, I had to just totally change my shoot. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Was it a cop that was like stopping you?
Everyone looked like a cop, basically. So it was weird because I was like the only non-cop at that event.
Yeah, so, you said it was you and one other.
There was one other media guy.
One guy, right?
It was interesting. So I had a really weird experience with that. It was pretty fun though.
You got a good poster. Oh, I got a good poster.
Yeah, I have a poster too. I brought some swag from it. But anyway, it was really fun, and I'm hoping that Ford really likes the video. I've got to send it to their rep. But in addition to that video, there's a lot of stuff happening because I still have another Senna video that's coming out, which
oh my God, yeah,
I've barely edited.
You know, I forget that you've done so much because the summer flies by.
Dude, the summer has been hard, like full-time job. And all of this craziness, it's been nuts. So it's like I'm filming on the weekends. We're doing track days, so the M3 has been getting serious abuse. I got to do a video about those brakes. But all right, so here's a story I want to tell.
Yeah, go for it.
And I'm going to tell it in a video anyway, but Chris Amos flew out here on a whim. He bought a Volvo 850R manual on Bring a Trailer. So he buys it, deal closed on Thursday, buys a plane ticket, and then he calls me and he's like, yo, I need you to pick me up at Logan at 9 a.m. I'm like, done. Absolutely. Run to the airport, bring him up to New Hampshire. We pick up the car. It was breaking up at the top of top of second. Thank God it was second. We would have been going way too fast.
It's a 5-speed, right?
It's a 5-speed.
Yeah, so it hauls. And
it's pretty quick. It's 270 wheel. Not anymore, though, because we dialed back that wastegate to a point where it wouldn't like overboost. It was overboosting. But long story short, he drives the car back to Michigan with no license plates.
When you told me this story, I thought you were joking. I mean, it was so ridiculous.
It's absolutely ridiculous. And yeah, sorry, I need to stop looking at these.
For any of you who don't live in Massachusetts, the laws about driving unregistered vehicles is very strict. Basically, if it's unregistered, it's considered a stolen vehicle, and they'll just tow it.
You're scum. Now, the thing is, and I don't want to get him into too much trouble here, but the best part about it is that the Mass Pike is now totally cashless. It is pay by plate.
Oh, I forgot about that too. So he's just going under, and
so he ran the Mass Pike just.
So they're just taking photos with just a Volvo with nothing.
So yeah, he did it outlaw style with the Volvo. And just a reminder, this is boosted 25% or plus 25 dB, so we got to be cautious about the peaking.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we won't yell. All right.
That's crazy.
But I know the only thing on your mind, because it's all you talk about,
As what?
all day long.
What is it?
All day long.
Oh,
to me
yes, I know exactly
is
what
the
it is.
C8 Corvette.
Oh,
All right,
love
why
the C8 Corvette.
why do you love this so much?
Because I think it is an unbelievable vehicle for not that much money.
Right, and we've just seen two pretty big vehicles drop in the last like 3-4 months. We've got the Supra, which is $60,000, and we've got the GT4 Spider, which are $100,000.
And the GT500.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
The GT500. So we have this new vehicle on the playing field here in the $60,000 range. Now, and everyone's like, "Oh, you're going to have to spend 80 for the one you want."
That's every car.
Who cares? Who cares?
Exactly. I mean, my feelings are, of course you're going to put options on whatever car you get. I mean, that's how it...
Well, plus I'm not going out there buying a Stingray. I'm going to go wait for the Grand Sport.
Exactly. But the fact that
That's not an announcement, by the way. I'm not like putting the deposit down.
The fact that they can put all this R&D, they've probably been working on this for decades now, and then put it out the door for, I think it's like $5,000 more than the Stingray was when it came out, is unbelievable, because it's a totally new car. It's not like they had a chassis to start with. They're starting from scratch, and it took them a while. I mean, they've been talking about a mid-engine Corvette since the 70s. Dude, I mean, there's been so many... I keep looking at the wrong camera.
I keep looking at this camera and thinking, I wish this camera was where this one is. This looks better.
I know, it does look better. Anyways.
Shit.
The C8
Lessons
Corvette.
learned. So for whoever's watching this, we're going to change this up a lot. And
the C8 Corvette just changes the game. I mean, it basically allows people like us the ability to afford a mid-engined supercar.
It is gonna be supercar level now. So for that, I understand, right? We're and here's what I'm actually most excited with. And Zach, if you're listening, I want you to just earmuffs. That's all I want. There are folks who love the automatic transmission that's in the C7 Corvette. I'm not one of them. I think it's a little lazy. I think it's great way up top, but, and here's the big but, I found that when you go to upshift that car, it does weird things. If you upshift when it hits redline or right before it hits redline, you're too late, and it's gonna hit that limiter, and it's a soft limiter. It doesn't do that. It just goes wah at like 6,500 RPM right at the redline. It holds it, and now you're locked out. It's like, nope, we're not upshifting. So I could go into that for literally 2 hours, but what this car is going to change is now, what do we have?
A dual clutch transmission.
Oh my goodness, a dual clutch transmission in an American muscle car.
I don't think it's been done. Is this the first dual clutch in an American?
It's not. There was a
Focus,
dual
right?
clutch in a there was a dual clutch
we
in a
don't talk
Focus,
about that.
which is weird. I never drove that.
That was so bad that they got sued and they kept it under the radar. I mean, I actually drove one of those.
I'm actually going to pause. I want this angle. Hang on. We're going to hang tight for a second.
I remember when I picked up a new car from Craigslist, or new to me anyways, I drove it around on plates that were from another car. And that's even really illegal, even though it's registered to me. So they don't mess around.
All right. I think we're dialing in this, not to steal Matt Mormon's thing, but we're...
Mormon? He's a Mormon?
No, Matt Mormon. Obsessed Garage.
His last name isn't.
It is Mormon. Matt Mormon.
Is it?
Yeah. So not to steal. I was just gonna say not to steal his thunder, but now we're dialed in. Get it? Get it? Yeah, it's clever.
That was a good one. So, from how other automakers are ditching dual clutches and Chevy is just getting into it, I think they're ditching dual clutches in sedan, like normal sedans, like an Audi A3. Because I think it's a lot of money for a car that really doesn't need it when the 8-speed or whatever ZF box is just as quick. But if you're talking about lap times and on a racetrack, a dual clutch is going to be significantly better.
Yeah, yeah.
Not only because of the way it upshifts and downshifts, and you and I talk about this all the time, even on your transmission, is heat.
Yeah, the only thing I like about an automatic gearbox, and when I say that, I mean a proper auto gearbox, and I don't even know if that really truly includes the wet clutch on the AMG.
That's like a semi.
It's weird.
It's called a semi-wet.
I don't know how to group that, because to me that's the best. And actually, that and the Dodge ones, the ones that are in like the Hellcat and the Scat Pack, and like those gearboxes are unbelievable. Because I just uploaded those videos on Track
That's
at
a
Road
great
America,
transmission.
and holy cow, I mean I am shooketh quite literally when I drive a Hellcat Red Eye. That thing upshifts so violently. I've never felt anything quite like that. The only thing that comes close to it is like the Lamborghini dual clutch, because but they do it for show, right? Like you upshift a Huracan and it's an event.
Well, Dodge probably does it too. I mean, they probably just pump up the pressures inside the transmission.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
Another thing about, good old torque converter transmissions, it's way easier to get off the line, and it's way easier in traffic. That's something that you complain about your M3 all the time, is the crawl, the lack of.
Well, yeah,
crawl.
and that's the problem is with BMW, at least with my BMW, with M3s, they don't engage that clutch, so there's no creep unless you apply throttle. So if you're for example, on a flat ground, you lift off the brake, it doesn't move until you apply throttle. Whereas in DSG land, it's like ready to start engaging the second you come off the brake. It's programmed that way, which probably introduces more wear into those clutches.
Yeah.
But anyway, but yeah, so I think the C8, I'm most excited about that gearbox. I think obviously the layout's going to be a game changer. I'm very curious to see if the car is going to be more agile, or if it's going to be that's not the right word. I want to know if it's going to be on a knife edge like a Ferrari, or if it's still going to be kind of a brute. Because even the C7, yeah, it's a pick and place car. You put it where you want it, and that's great. It's a great handling car, but it's still a little brutish. It's not a Porsche.
No, I don't think this will be either. I think it'll be a brutish car. I think
that's hard though, to have a brutish car as a mid-engine layout. Brutish cars aren't meant to be mid-engine.
Well, if there's anybody that can figure it out, it's GM.
They do have good chassis engineers, and they do have good suspension engineers.
And how long have we seen these test mules running around the Nürburgring? Years.
All I want to know is what's it like to drive with all the nannies off, because that's the true test. I have yet to drive a C7 with everything off, and I'm not sure I'm going to, because I don't really want to have to write it off. It still scares me.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that it's as good as their other work that they've done. I mean, their performance lineup in the last decade has been pretty good. Maybe not the greatest interiors, maybe not the greatest exterior designs, but when it comes to performance vehicles, and specifically their suspension and chassis development, GM has it.
Yeah.
Has it over 90% of the competition.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree. I'm also just ultra sick of memes. I'm like kind of sick of everything about this car. I just want to drive it.
Yeah, well, you're gonna have to live with it until.
So I feel like this is like election season, where I need to just ignore the internet for a little while and just wait till it happens, and I'll make my vote when I get the chance. So, all right, that's really all I want to talk about the C8. I don't want to go into more detail.
We don't know anything, so what are we gonna keep talking about besides it's the greatest car ever made and it hasn't even come out yet?
Exactly. Well, all right, where are you going this weekend?
I'm going to Watkins Glen for the second time to watch the NASCAR race. I'm a low-key NASCAR fan, and I love Watkins Glen, and I love Rubbins racing.
Yeah, it is good times.
I'm going with my girlfriend, and we'll have a good time. That's what I'll be doing this weekend.
Yeah, Corey is Eddie's girlfriend, and
she's asking us a question. I want to hear Tedward's view on F1. Tom, you don't watch F1.
I don't, and I don't have enough of an opinion to give you. But anyway, I think we'll table questions for the end. But yeah. I think one of the things I like about this podcast is it gives us an opportunity to kind of like have a normal conversation. And talk about what's going on in our lives. What are you looking forward to this summer? Because we're coming to a close now.
What am I looking forward to? The rest of my track season. And
how has that been going?
It's been going as great as it can be. Again, this is the first year I've campaigned with a new car, and there's obviously going to be bumps in the road that I've definitely hit between heating issues, brakes.
Well, let's back up a little bit. I don't know if everybody knows what you drive.
Well, if you don't know, I drive a 2017 Honda Civic Type R. that's been set up now for time attack in a touring class.
Tell me about all of your mods. So, I mean, or not all of them, because there's
We'll
too
be
many.
here till
Yeah.
2026.
What are the big ones? Who are the people you want to thank?
BM Spec for the Aero, Acuity Instruments for all of the wonderful shifter modifications. They've been fantastic. And United Speed Racing for their wonderful oil cooler.
I am almost always wearing an Acuity shirt, and
I know.
it has it almost has nothing to do with them. It's just that they gave me two, and they're always the only clean shirts I have when I need a shirt to be on camera. I'm always like,
Yeah.
oh, geez, I'm always advertising for these guys. But here's the thing, like, I do want to monetize this channel in new ways, and part of that is sponsorship deals and, you know, dealing with brands in ways that I'm not currently doing.
Absolutely.
The biggest thing about that is that most of the brands, I don't reach out to anybody really, but the ones who reach out to me, I tend to be like, that's garbage. I don't want to, I don't want to have to review it because they're going to hate me. Right?
I know what you mean.
So when Powen, our friend Powinning on YouTube, he started working very closely with Acuity. I started seeing their products. I started using some of their products, reviewing cars and feeling their shifters and like these new bushings and all that stuff. I was like, oh my God, these guys are good. Like they know what's up. So now anytime Acuity is like, hey, we're going to throw this prototype shifter in your car, try it out, I'm thrilled because I know I'm not going to have anything really awful to say. I might have constructive feedback, but I'm not going to be like, what a heap of shit. Like, it's nice to have those types of endorsements where I know that the people working on the product love the product and use the product the way I use the product.
Yeah, I mean, also, my car's a perfect platform to test it because I probably put it through the hardest conditions you can imagine. I mean, the heat that was coming off that engine on Saturday 2 weeks ago.
Let's talk about what the temperatures were.
It was like 95 and 100% humidity.
It was horrible.
It was the worst weather you could take a turboed car out. And the car held up. I mean,
well, it held up, but it was heat soaked.
Yeah, but that was to be expected. I would say for what it did, it held it pretty well. It didn't go into limp mode. It didn't overheat. There wasn't like coolant issues. It just got really hot, and I probably lost 80 horsepower, 90 horsepower. I mean, it barely hit 110 miles an hour.
Your phlegm. I'm going to cringe when I listen to this.
Yeah.
You need to clear that throat, baby boy.
I know. It's bad.
No, I'm going to get you a water. I'm going to get you a water.
Yeah, I could totally use a water. I'm like dying. Yeah, no, it's a good car. But I think the more... sorry, I'm watching him struggle. There we go. Hi, Tom. Thank you.
See,
I mean,
I watched
listen.
out for you.
I would say the more impressive thing is your M3 on the track because it's doing the same things that my car is doing, but my car only goes to the track and then it sits.
My car, let's talk about the M3 for a second. So my M3 is my daily driver. I drive it to work every day, and it's not like, oh, I drive it to work every day and it's 4 miles away. My office is 38 miles from this apartment, so I drive that twice a day, 5 days a week. That's like 80 miles a day. And what this car endures during the week is nice highway driving, a little bit of just cruising through the town, but like, you know, mostly just highway driving and getting to work at a constant speed, which is great. That's good for a car. The problem is that I also throw it on racetracks and beat the bag out of it. So the only things upgraded on the car are like wheels and tires, just so I can have grip, and a tire that isn't going to fall away from me, because you cannot seriously be tracking a PS4S.
Well, you did.
I did, and I quickly realized that I have outgrown that tire in a day.
Yeah.
So, you know, we got the Nitto NTO1s. Then the second thing was brakes. I mean, I didn't have the braking power, and it wasn't even the braking power. It was just that the stock pads would literally melt. Like no joke, they became liquid. Gone. Just gone. So I got the G-Lock R12s up front and the R10s in the back. And again, fantastic pad. You do some fluids, RBF 600 for to withstand the temperatures it's seeing. I'm on a stock caliper. I'm on a stock rotor. Now, this is where things are getting annoying because, yes, they work on track. Everything's going well. You come off of a session and you've cooled them down a little bit and you hear them ticking away and they get really hot. And I'm definitely chewing these rotors to bits. They've probably got another session left, but the problem isn't that. I'm fine with consumables. The problem is that driving on a daily basis in this car has become so obnoxious with these brakes because I've clearly melted away, burned off any high temp grease that I had slathered on the back of these pads. So now driving down the street at any speed, all I hear is and then you get on the brakes a little bit, it's like I sound like the Boston Green Line. I sound like a train. For the first 2 or 3 weeks of this, after a track day when this noise started, I was like horribly embarrassed. I didn't want to be seen anywhere. I didn't even take the car to a Cars and Coffee because I was like, I can't be seen like this. I cannot pull into a Cars and Coffee squealing these brakes, just driving steady state. And now I don't give a shit.
I had that same issue with my old Honda and the new Honda. That's why I don't drive them on the street because, when you go on the track, you give up some qualities of life. That's what we do, right?
Right. And it made, so when I'm driving the when I'm driving the M5, my E39 M5, now I feel like I'm driving like this brand new S-Class limo because it's just quiet. It just drives. I get on the brakes. They work. Now, that car has its own things, but we'll talk about that another time. What I think, I know I'm doing a lot of talking here, but I'm really excited about a lot of things going on with the cars right now.
I know. That's so cool.
My Porsche is up at Catchell Motor Company in Lawrence, Massachusetts. These are like the Porsche guys in the area. There's nobody who does what they do.
Yeah, no.
They build full-blown race cars. He's rebuilding an engine out of a 73 RS right now. So, you've got $1 million. That's $1 million car. On its worst day, it's $800,000. And right now in pieces, it's probably $750,000.
Oh my God.
And
deal of the century.
Yeah, right. But the problem, the bright side is once this engine's rebuilt, it'll be worth over $1 million, right? And that's outrageous. So who else do I trust my car with? The other fear, though, is that you drop your air-cooled 911 at one of these shops. It's like going to BBI or something, or Emotion, and all you're thinking is, what the fuck is my bill gonna be?
Well, you know what it reminded me of when you started talking about bringing it over to KMC is like, if you don't go to the doctors or the dentist for like a decade, and then you go and they're like, you should have come like 5 years ago because we could have stopped all of your teeth from falling out.
Here's a deep, dark secret. I never PPI'd the car. I bought that car in a day.
Sight unseen?
I saw it, and then I went back the next day with a big old check. And I drove it home. I didn't even drive the car before I bought it. I did all the wrong things. I did all the wrong things. I bought that car purely on emotion. I got under it. I had no idea what the hell I was looking at. Like, I don't even know that I'd ever been in an air-cooled 911.
You're looking at, something that looks like an airplane engine from 1905. And
not only that,
it looks fine.
That was the first Porsche I ever drove. The first Porsche I ever drove was my Porsche on the way home. That was how I bought that car. And I had brought it to like Jake at Wild Motorsport, not to look at it properly, but he was just like, oh my God, what did you buy? Bring it over. I brought it over. We went for a little rip. He looked under it and he goes, you did good. And I said, oh, thank God. And then I just never looked back. I was like, okay, I did good. So now I'm bringing it to KMC and he's I'm like, oh, I need this axle boot done. And, check out those rear brakes. The car pulls hard to the right under braking. That's a terrifying thing. So I figure, yeah, we'll rebuild those calipers. But he's like, oh, well, it's a car we've never seen before. What I like to do with new cars to the shop is to spend an hour with the car.
Put white gloves
on. Go through all of it, right?
Do a cavity search.
So I'm like the guy, like you just said, I feel like I've just not been to a doctor in 30 years and you're going to go put me in a CAT scan. I'm like, I don't want to know about the tumors.
Yeah, exactly. It's
just
like
let me live my life.
You've gotten this far without knowing.
Sure. But the problem is now that it's in my head, every time I drive the car, I'm thinking, oh man, what's that noise? Is that the kind of noise that any knowledgeable Porsche guy would go, shut the car off, you're going to blow it up. I don't know how this works. So he goes through the car, he gives me a 14-point list, and a couple of them scared the shit out of me. But once we talked, it's way less scary. He loved the car. He said it pulled really strong. There's a little bit of weeping in some normal places.
It's an old car.
And it's fine. And so there's a little bit of knock and play in the steering, and it was the tie rod. So he's replacing those. We're doing a wheel bearing. We're rebuilding the rear calipers. We're doing an axle boot and some other bushings and stuff. So the car's going to feel great. It's going to be totally refreshed and aligned.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's getting what it truly deserved, because how long have we been telling you to do that damn axle boot?
Well, it was really like a year and a half, 2 years, but the car has barely been driven.
Well, that's the thing. I think that axle boot kind of shunned you from driving it often.
What's
right?
funny, too, though, is he goes, yeah, normally when you see these torn, there's all kinds of grit and grime in there. He goes, it's pretty clean. And I'm thinking, do you have any fucking clue what road I drove that on? Remember David's house?
Fuck.
It's just a dirt road.
I know.
So I drove that up and down this dirt road like 4 times with this ripped axle boot.
You also may have driven it over the speed limit a few times that weekend, too.
We did find a nice road.
We did find a very nice road.
Yeah,
we can't go back there, though.
We can never go back there. There's lots of video of me driving on that road, so that was a good weekend. Yeah, but I'm really excited to get that car back, and I'm also now really heavily. I think I've got to do the rod bearings on the M3.
Well, I think what we're getting to is that you finally hit it. You have the track bug.
I love the track, but at the same time, I love driving my cars and knowing that they're not going to grenade.
Well,
so
it's this hard balance between going to the track and eating food.
Yeah. So actually, this is a great time to stop. Patreon.com/Tedward Drives.
Rod bearings.
Rod bearings. Old Teddy's working a full-time job trying to make sure that his 3 German cars aren't grenading.
I know.
Unbelievable. But for real, if you do want to support the channel, that's the best place to do it. Even if it's $1 a month, I really don't care.
Seriously, we're running low on toilet paper.
I need TP, man. This is getting rough. So
but it truly gets out of control. I mean, what starts off to be a $5,000 budget this year, let's just say it went a little bit over that for me. By a significant margin.
You did quite a few. You did some damage for sure.
Yeah, I did, but it was worth it. I've been having an absolute blast, and the car is so much fun on the track. And I just love fucking people up in a front-wheel drive car.
Well, it's great so let me talk about the group we run with. I think the next track day, I'm not going to be driving, but I am going to go and do features on your car. Jake Weil, he doesn't know this yet, but we've been talking about it for a while, and I'm like, a while. That was a really bad joke.
That was like the dad of the dad. That was something Alex Weishaus would say.
Bad. I apologize, everybody.
Yeah, that was pathetic.
That was really bad. And Calm. So we race with this club called Calm. It's
Corvettes of Mass.
Yeah, which is so bizarre. But it's the oldest racing club, and I mean that it's a racing club. It's not just like a HPDE.
Yeah.
Everything is timed, which makes it really fun to insure your car integrity, because everyone always says, "Oh, it's an HPDE." I'm like, the second they slap that transponder on, your claim goes out the window with Geico. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, exactly.
So always insure your cars.
Let's plug Calm for a little bit, because I feel like it's a hidden gem in the rough around here.
I didn't know this existed.
And I've known it for a long time.
So the way it's set up, they pretty much invented the setup of doing like a day of HPDE where you're out there with instructors, or if you're out there by yourself, you're learning the track, you're learning your car on the track. Okay, but so where we were talking about the classing system of Calm. So I'm a T70. My car is largely stock, but because of my tires and a couple other things, it bumps us up. And then your car.
I'm a T80.
You're a T80. So, stock, your car's probably a T60.
T70.
Is it really?
The T70.
Okay, all right. So you're riding the edge of T80 then, I'm sure.
I'm barely in T80.
Well, so
I'm like an 81.
I'm already bored. No one gives a shit about the classing systems on here, I'm sure. But let me talk about the club. And
that's what I mean, the club.
So the club, I'll go out there and I'll be out there with instructors who are just out of this world. And you'll see it in the videos where, I'm out in Palmer with Jeff Baker, who's a Formula 2 licensed driver. I mean, the guy's like a serious driver. And he's out there coaching me and coming in saying, hey, you've got a good feel for grip. I think we can, you've got potential. I think we can make something happen. I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And that was like the most validating thing, and not in a cocky way, but in a way that made me feel like, hey, the thing that I love the most, I actually might be able to be good at.
Well, what I love about Calm too is, and I'm not discounting other HPDE groups, but there's something to be said about people who want to drive faster and people who just want to drive on the track.
Yeah, I agree. And when I'm out there on track days, I think when I first started, just doing like the little events we were doing, I just wanted to get a feel for what it was like to be on track. I wanted to explore the limits of my car, but that was it. Now I'm at this point where if I'm not up the ass of whoever is in front of me, demanding a point by, I feel like I failed the day. And if I am not outpacing somebody who should be faster than me in a corner, then I'm failing. Like I need to be, I get really competitive, but not in a dangerous way, just in a way that like I didn't think I could be. It's wonderful.
Absolutely. And I hope other people go check it out because it's a really fun group. I have a fun group of friends that we've done it for a while now together, and it's been a good time. And now that you're a part of it, it's even more fun.
Yeah, I appreciate that. All right, well, that's COM. I think if you are if you're in Massachusetts or New Hampshire, New England, whatever.
SCC.
COM SCC, COM Sports Car Club.
And you don't have to be a race car driver to join this club.
No.
You can be a beginner. I mean, Tom, you were basically a beginner.
I walked in beginner, totally green, and now I'm out there trail braking, sliding my M3 with all the nannies off into corners and doing 140 on a straight at Thompson.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm having a blast. All right. I think now that you guys have suffered through 30 minutes of this, we can. I think it's one of those things where I want to get a little personal, and I think I want to tell the RWB STD story.
Which one? Oh God.
So, 2017, I get laid off of my job, and
it was a great year, by the way.
Yeah.
We had a good time.
Well, all right. Let me start with the clickbait title of this story. It's an RWB Porsche prevented me from getting gonorrhea.
Yeah.
And this is a true story. So it's 2017. I was working for a company, got laid off from that company. I had been with them for 6 years. I decided, you know what, I'm going to do some interesting things while I have this opportunity. So part of that was the Miata road trip.
Mm-hmm.
I went out but before that I had gone out to California, done like a little getaway, and I had been in a relationship when this had all started. And when I was in California, some things changed. We broke up. I was the cause. I mean, I was both the cause. Well, I broke up with him.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. So I get back home, and it's a few weeks later, and my friend says, "Hey, my cousin has this RWB Porsche, this 993 RWB Porsche. If you drive me to the airport and pick me up from that house, I'll let you can film the cars. He has a little collection." And I'm like, great, this is amazing. And I'm very fresh, very green. I just want to go film some cars. And I thought, hey, this will be like a good clickbait title, all that stuff. Like RWB Porsche, that was hot. It was really hot then. That was the thing.
The thing.
Right? Yeah. So I go over there, I film all the cars. I'm getting all this beautiful footage and I'm really proud of it. And, I go back home, I edit this video, I put it up like almost immediately, and I'm thrilled. Now, the same day, this ex-boyfriend of mine is like, hey, come over to the house, let's talk things out. We never really got closure. We hadn't seen each other in a couple weeks. Mm-hmm. And he's like, let me make you lunch. Let's talk. So now I'm a grown-ass man. I understand what lunch means. Right, yeah. I'm gonna go over there, and things are, we're gonna finally have that breakup sex, or makeup sex. I don't know what it's gonna be, but that's probably what's going to happen, right? Yeah. So we sit down, and we start eating lunch, and like things are going really well, and I'm kind of thinking, oh, this is gonna be kind of a fun little afternoon for old Tedward,
old Teddy.
That's when my phone rings during lunch, and it's the guy who owns the RWB, and I'm thinking, oh, he must love this video. He must be calling me to say thank you. This is a great video of my car. So I said, all right, I'm going to take the call outside. So I take the call outside, and he's like, you got to take this video down. I changed my mind. I don't want my collection on the internet at all. I'm really freaked out. This has to come down now. And now I'm a young filmmaker. I'm panicking because I just created this thing, and it's kind of like, hey, no takesies, backsies, brah. But at the same time, I'm also like a respectable human being. And I don't want the reputation, if he knows everyone else in the supercar community, like if someone's going to be like, hey, Tedward's an asshole, and now when, I invited him to do this, and now I don't want it, but at the same time, I put the work into it.
I was going to say, it's like, you did this excellent video at the time, and he just took a dump on Monet's lily pond.
And it had to go on. I had to take it down. So I took the video down, and now I'm pissed. I'm doing this on my phone on my ex's deck, and I go back into to lunch, and I'm pissed. Right? Moods changed. I'm pissed. I'm like, I just spent all this time on this video. So I eat lunch and I'm looking at him and I'm like, I don't want to be in this relationship. I don't even want to have sex with this person, with or without. Like, I'm out. So I'm like, look, I stand by my convictions for why we broke up. I think, thank you for lunch. Goodbye. And I leave. Okay. So now you have to remember, we have not been physically intimate in like 2 months.
Thank God.
So a week later or 2 or 3 days later, I get a phone call from him and he goes, hey, I just want to let you know that I just tested positive for gonorrhea. You should get tested. I'm like, why should I get tested? We haven't had sex in 2 months. Like, this gonorrhea is not a latent virus. It doesn't, it's a good, like, 48-hour guy where it's like, you get it and then you're going to find out pretty quick. So I'm like, well, have you slept with anybody else? And he goes, yeah. I'm like, and when might that have been? He was like, about 3 days ago. And I'm like, well, yeah. So, or it was 3 days before, sorry, this was like a day after lunch. So it was the next day. So this means he had slept with somebody like 3 days before we had this lunch. And that means he had it, but wasn't showing symptoms while we were having this lunch, which means that if we had slept together, I would have gotten gonorrhea. And if I hadn't gotten the bad news on the RWB, I would have definitely pursued that physical intimacy that day. And so this guy revoking his collection from YouTube is the only reason I didn't get gonorrhea that year.
That was a fantastic story.
I say it that year like it's like a yearly thing. No, I've still been skating by.
I was gonna say there's usually a 1 year. There's usually a yearly Tedward almost.
I get a scare once in a while.
Get scared. Yeah.
I have actually been called by the CDC.
Yeah, and it wasn't for measles.
No, it was for syphilis that time. Again, didn't have it, so I can talk about it.
So yeah, no. 2017. That was a great year because we were both unemployed, and that was when I was building the Civic. I remember we would basically both wake up at about noon. I would come here. We'd go do some car shit.
We just do hood rat shit,
and then we'd get drunk.
We did. So speaking of, I still really haven't been drinking.
Me neither.
I mean,
yeah.
I will now have like a beer or two once in a while.
Teddy, you did get lit at Vermont.
Well, Vermont was a different story, and I got a video for that.
We have a video for that.
That video is gonna be unbelievable. We turned that house into a nightclub. We got the biggest Airbnb. If you guys haven't seen the McLaren video, shooting flames at night, you absolutely have to go watch that. It is something I'm so proud of. I don't say a goddamn word in the video. It's just like so the way I did this video was I wanted it to look like we were unleashing like this Jurassic Park dinosaur, like it's a velociraptor. And so, sorry, trademark Hennessy. So we
Universal.
Yeah, we let this thing out of the trailer, and then it's like this rabid, nasty animal growling at you, and then we're watching it shoot flames, and then we're watching me drive it, kind of taming the beast. We're riding that horse, and then we're just cruising through the countryside, and it's like a 4-minute video. I think I'm really proud of it. It didn't get many views, but then again, YouTube's been really rough for me lately. But I don't care because I'm making stuff I'm proud of.
I was gonna say also, every single weekend, either you're away or I'm away, or we're both away at the same thing. And I mean, I haven't slept in this bed on a weekend. I can't even remember the last time.
Yeah,
and I don't count Sunday nights because that's
another video that's coming too. Is my parents installed a pool, and great, who gives a shit? But it's one of those fiberglass pools that, like, they truck it in, and the pool got impounded last year. Like, they literally, like, they drove this wide load pool across the country from like Indiana to Massachusetts without the right permits.
I think I know also the real reason it got impounded is because it didn't have plates on it.
Pool
didn't have license plates on it.
No, so they actually impounded our pool for like 2 weeks.
Well, I remember you told me this story, and I thought it was a joke because it's so comical.
But I am thrilled because I literally threw a camcorder at my dad. I'm like, go down to this impound lot and you need to get me footage of it. So I have footage of this fucking pool in an impound lot. And I have an image, I have a video of them transferring the pool with a crane from one truck to another and then bringing it into our yard. Now the pool's all installed and we're just doing the patio and, you know, we've been swimming in it and it's great. But that was just one of the most bizarre things that could have happened, and only to my family is our pool an outlaw.
I mean, it was unreal, and also I just feel like there's been so many setbacks with this, the patio, the guy just leaving, getting up and leaving, and now the stone's a different color.
Yeah,
oh my god,
it's a whole thing. So,
but it'll be worth it when it's done right.
All right, guys. Well, this has been another episode of the Respect the Drive podcast. Thank you so much for listening. And again, you can find this on SoundCloud, but I would prefer you watch it on YouTube because then I'll actually get the views, credit, and money for it. Again, if you want to support me, please go on to patreon.com/TedwardDrives. $1 a month would be super cool. Or if you're on this live stream, super chat always works. Throw a couple bucks. This little hobby gets really expensive. And it's not something that I'm like, hey, I'm going to go make a bunch of money on YouTube. It's like, if you had any idea the money that I spend on equipment, the amount of hours I spend editing, the amount of time we spend setting up shoots, the amount of gas we spend getting to the shoots, you would recognize that this is not a fruitful deal and it is 100% just a passion project.
I was literally going to say none of this is for money. At the end of the day, we're doing this because, well, you're doing it because you love doing it. And I think people don't realize sometimes that, you know, you're just doing it because you want to do it. I think they may see, oh, maybe he's trying to get famous and whatnot, but obviously you're doing it for you.
It'd be awesome to be famous. It'd be awesome
great
to make money off it. It'd be so cool if this made 6 figures and then I could be like, wow. And now I don't need to take any of it from my subscribers. It's just coming from like brand deals and stuff. And you're like, hey man, this is self-sustaining. But at the end of the day, the point of what I do is to honestly review cars, give an emotional connection to the car through communicating what I'm feeling, what the car's telling me to you guys, and show you a good time because anyone can bark specs at you. There's plenty of channels that are going to tell you it has 494 horsepower at 6,149 RPM. Who gives a shit? Does it make you tingle? Does it slide? Is it sketchy? Is it safe?
I also would say, you know, we both listened to that Chris Harris podcast recently.
By the way, I feel really dumb that I didn't know that existed,
I
but
know.
yeah, I'm obsessed with it.
Well, that's not your fault. That's because you have a phone from 2005 and you probably don't have the podcast app because your phone
I get it. You can get it on Spotify.
Yeah, see, this is my point.
But
anyways, back to the podcast part. I wanted you to listen to that because it was literally talking about you. Not you for real, more like he was talking about how he wanted to hear about an M3 with 80,000 miles and what's it like to, run one of those for the year.
So this is, I don't know why I'm so eager to always end these, but there's a lot to talk about here. So influencers.
I know. Why do you want to end
I don't
these?
know.
We could go on for hours.
This is fun. The biggest thing with influencers right now, and I'm not trying to sound like one of these those damn kids on the YouTube. They're ruining what it is like to buy a new car because they're buying new supercars every day. And so every time, this is the formula. First, I want to buy a new car. What should I buy? Mm-hmm. Okay, now we settle on the car. What color is it? What's the spec? I'm collecting. I'm taking delivery of my new car. Okay?
Yep.
And then you get it. And then it's, oh my God, it broke. And then it's fixed. Well, congratulations, you bought a Lamborghini. Sorry, that's what's going to happen.
Or someone crashed into it. Or...
Then what? It gets wrapped. What color do I wrap my... Who gives a shit? Just wrap the fucking thing clear. I don't care. Drive the car, okay? Take it to the track. Then I'll listen. Then it's broken again. Then I'm selling my car. And within 6 months, we've gone in and out of the supercar experience, and I'm bored of it. And it's, think about it. If I spent $140,000 and got my dream GT3 Touring, you think that's going to be a 6-month ordeal for me? No, that is going to be a commitment.
That is a 36-month payment.
I know.
So I don't think that's going anywhere anytime soon.
I don't like the formula. I think it's really old hat, and I think it's ruining what it's like to buy a new car. I think every time you see somebody with a 458, you say, yeah, but I just saw Doucheman69 on YouTube pick up a 488.
Seen it.
You know, there.
It's you go on YouTube and you look up cars, and the top 10 things are like, just picked up a Lambo, gonna twin turbo it, or look at my Senna, or it's out of control. And I get it. It's cool to see what it's like on the other side of life. What it's like to have these cars.
What would it be like to be that rich?
But if you're actually gonna tell me about these supercars, tell me actually what it's like to own it. Like, your review coming up with the Senna, well, not review, but your experience of the Senna is going to be way more interesting than 90% of the crap that's out on YouTube right now.
It's true.
Because
although we did take it through a Dunkin' Donuts drive-thru.
Well, you did also, but you did real life shit. You didn't just, I went to one Gucci store to another Gucci store. Yeah. It was also on a trailer the whole time because I didn't want to put miles on it.
Yeah.
And the car's low jacked, and the insurance company will only let me drive 500 miles a year because I'm under 22.
It's true.
So
my other issue with and this is, again, I'm not trying to be like egotistical about like my driving, but I don't think there's very many drivers on YouTube who do what I do, because the only drivers on YouTube I see are like Jackie Ding. Now, I'm not Jackie Ding, but he doesn't review cars, right? He goes out and he's doing his time attack, and people follow him for that. But there's very few influencers that are actually drivers that have good, good tactile communication for what they're feeling on the road, and can communicate that in an unbiased manner to an audience and say, like, this is what the car feels like. I'm trying to get better at that, but it's something that, like, I want to communicate the vibe, the feeling, the emotion. Like, the 600 LT totally shocked me. I thought it was going to be like a GTR. What it really is like a modern day F430 Scuderia. It is so raw, it is so loud, it is so rigid, and I'm still blown away at how good that car is and how much the gearbox makes the car.
Mm-hmm.
So, I want to just continue that path, and I don't want to let the YouTube formula take over. So, I've been at this for 3 years. I'm still a small YouTuber. We're still only like 22,000 subscribers. But I do genuinely believe that with quality content, honest content, you can grow. And we'll see if I continue to be proven wrong on that.
And a Lamborghini in the snow does help once in a while.
Hey, I am not saying that if someone wants to go drift a Lamborghini in the snow, that I'm not going to be there with 12 cameras, because I fucking will be.
That was a great video.
That was a great day. I came in that day and said, this is going to be my first 1 million view video. And then for 8 months, it did 20,000 views. And I was like, fuck. And then boom, 3 million. So it's my only claim to fame, other than Powan's video on Winding Road Magazine.
And the video we don't talk about.
Yeah, the sidebar. Yeah.
So yeah, no. Have you watched the new Top Gear?
I haven't at all.
So, I've seen it, and I'm not gonna lie, it's funny. Well, I think it's very funny, and it's a totally new formula of basically two very, very, very British guys who have thick accents making fun of Chris Harris the whole time.
And that's good, because Chris Harris is more of the bully on the drive the drive on NBC Sports.
Exactly.
He always bullies the other boys, whether it's Alex or Mike. And by the way, I just want to say, like, Drive on NBC Sports is so good. And what I've been seeing through Mike Spinelli's Instagram, and I'm messaging him like every day going, holy shit, you and JF are geniuses. This is amazing. They're doing like all this AMG content. They're out with like a 190 Evo 2 Elemento P. I don't even know what it's called, but like a full-blown fucking DTM car. And they're doing content that nobody's doing. And this is going to be on NBC.
Yeah, and it's not even a channel that you can get for free.
It's an NBC Sports, and so just so many props to JF and those boys. Really proud of what they're doing and how they're rebuilding Drive, the actual network on YouTube, and the Drive, I should say, which is funny because they always say when I wear a Respect the Drive T-shirt at their headquarters, I get a lot of looks because they're like, oh, we don't make that. And I'm like, no, it's not for the Drive. It's Respect the Drive. It's mine.
It's my drive.
But I think I just have so much. I was talking about this today in a Facebook thing where I want to create content that I can be proud of. And part of that means if I can walk into a room with, Tom Morningstar, Alex Roy, Mike Spinelli, and if, like let's say Chris Harris or something, they don't have to like my content, but hopefully they would respect it. I wouldn't want to walk in there having said, "Oh, blowing up the cheapest Gallardo in the country," or I just don't think that that's what they find. I mean, not saying I have to do this for other people, but I feel like I align with their moral values on cars, and what they think is good content is probably what I think is good content. So
it's also generational. I think your generation is totally different than my generation and the generation after mine. I mean, just look at the car culture.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I look like dinosaurs out there.
It's crazy. So, all right, I think we're going to sign off of the podcast now, but what I'm going to do is let's stick around with the live crew. We'll answer some questions.
Yeah, start typing away if you have questions.
So, thanks again for liking and subscribing and listening. We appreciate it, and we'll be back very soon. This has been the Respect the Drive podcast with Tedward and Eddie. I'll see you.
Bye.